This is me in the morning. But anyways, hey guys, it's me again. And I'm going to be talking about something. It's sort of a tragic event, but I'm just kind of explaining what actually happened. So, now that they're going to be making a Titanic Part 2, I'm not going to spoil it, but you should go watch the trailers and stuff. It's coming out in 2020. But since they're making that movie, I might as well talk about the actual Titanic. A lot of people say that the ship hit an iceberg and it created a hole and it flooded and it broke in half and it sank and almost everyone died. Not many over 700, maybe 704 or 5 lived. So not even 800 people out of thousands of people lived. So what happened? Because some people are supporting it exploded and that nobody's telling the actual story. Well, they're right and wrong. No, it didn't just hit an iceberg, and no, it didn't just catch on fire before they left. Because if it did catch on fire, it would have had to been burning for weeks before it even left. So what actually happened, and this is supported in many different different explanations of how the Titanic actually sank. See, what happened was the Titanic used a lot of metals that were expensive, and they couldn't afford any more metal or time. The people that were building the ship realized that there's a fire. But instead of rebuilding that part of the ship, since they didn't have much time and they didn't have much more materials, they couldn't rebuild it. So they figured since the Titanic was unsinkable, they would just leave it. It created a huge hole and mass in the ship. See, that was a problem because they faced it towards the outward of the part that was out facing the sea, so that when people got on, they weren't worried. People even drew pictures of the Titanic, and it did have a huge little black hole. It doesn't look too big, but since the Titanic was so big, it would have been ginormous. Bigger than about 10 people. That's pretty big. And you see, since it was facing outward toward the sea, that's the side that the iceberg hit. Sorry, I have food in the microwave. But that's the side that the iceberg hit. If the iceberg hit that side, it would definitely, since it basically scraped against that whole side, and the fire was at the front, which was where it hit first, the iceberg did cause a lot of damage. You see, that was also a big problem. It caused so much damage to the part that was already weakened and soft and melted that water eventually led to get into the ship. After that happened, so much water was at one side of the ship that it couldn't support the other side anymore. And the Titanic split right down the middle. People have managed to get pieces of the Titanic up. They're trying to get the whole Titanic up, though, but because of the material it's made out of and it being rusted for who knows how many years, like 2 decades, it's amazing how many, no, not actually 2 decades. I don't remember how long it's been sunken for, but for that long, it has rusted, and the only thing that's keeping it together is the water, like a lot of things on the Titanic. And you see, if they were to pull it out and not be careful enough, they could easily break it into little molecules, which is quite bad because people are trying to get the whole Titanic out and not break it. Sorry, I got 15 cuts on one foot because I fell through a glass fish tank, or at least one of my feet did. I was trying to get on a bar, and one of my feet were already on the bar, and the other just fell through. Ouch. Ouch. And so after that, thousands of people died because of the workers. But I support this decision. People say that it was Rose's fault that Jack died. Technically it is and isn't, depending on how the story actually played out. You see, if Rose did get on the lifeboat, people say that Jack would have lived. Because if you think about it, Rose was the only one taking up that little board. But there are two reasons why he wouldn't have lived, depending on how the story actually played out. You see, if Jack, or no, if Rose had gotten on that lifeboat, then Jack would be dead within almost an instant. Why, you may be asking? How would he be dead? He would still be on the boat. But if you think about it, Rose's future husband or fiance was planning on shooting him. Jack knew this from the start, but as long as Rose would live, he would be happy. Yes, he didn't want to die, but he didn't want Rose to die either. And it was either one of them or both of them. See, Jack could have lived if Rose would have let him. Or her fiance would have let him. You see, if he hadn't gotten shot and killed, then would he still be alive? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how the story would play out. See, one thing is, he could have still done the exact same thing that they did, and Jack would have found that wooden door. Yes, he would have found it, but would he be able to get on it? You don't know. Because if you looked, Rose was trying to get on it and she couldn't until Jack started holding the board. Would Rose and Jack both have to have someone hold the board? I don't know. Depends on how the story plays out. But it would have been nice if Jack had lived, because honestly, the person that played him was super hot. Like, I forgot his name, but like, the person that played Jack Dawson was super hot. Or that's just me. And Rose has already died. And nowadays. And apparently they're planning on making a new Titanic about how Rose has already died. And it comes out on the news, but after Jack has been found. And should this be a problem? No, Jack can just live on his own. But Rose was the love of Jack's life. I mean, yeah, he's drawn other women, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't do it in a car with any of them. Or on a ship with any of them. Plus, he said that he didn't like any of those women and he just draws them. I'm guessing he draws them for, again, what a lot of people needed, money. Money did play out a lot in the Titanic movie. Like the Heart of the Sea, which that's not an actual necklace, just they wanted to make at least one of the women worth something. I can't remember. So that's what I support about the Titanic, and I don't believe that they should make another Titanic, but I'm kind of excited because they haven't actually found Jack. See, what the thing is, I wouldn't have a problem with it, except the first one was based off of a true story. The new Titanic that they're trying to make, it's not based off of a true story. Jack, even if they did find his body, he wouldn't be alive. Yes, he could be alive. They could make him live if they inject certain things into his body and just thaw him out. Even that might not work. So why are they trying to say that this already happened? They're probably not trying to say that it happened, just that they hope that happens. But the first story was based off of a true one. The second, I don't think that they should make a new one that's not focusing on the real Titanic story. Maybe they should make a new Titanic, like the actual movie, and remake it just so that people who are now in modern day types of movies are able to watch that. But yeah, that's why I do and don't support the new Titanic. And that's what I believe happened to the actual Titanic. But yeah, like this video if you support any of this, or if you have new ideas, like this video and then comment what your ideas on the Titanic are, and subscribe to me if you're new, and turn on the notification bell so that way you can hear more awesome stories like this one.